Imagine a vast wild territory covering thousands of square kilometers, with mountain ranges, winding rivers, geysers shooting steam into the sky, and endless pastures. This is Yellowstone National Park in the USA. Today it is known as a unique place where thousands of tourists come to experience the incredible harmony of flora and fauna. But 100 years ago, people had no idea that by exterminating wolves in this area, they would destroy an entire natural system. That's exactly what this story is about. You will learn how just 14 wolves changed the fate of a huge ecosystem, breathing new life into it, restoring balance and bringing billions of dollars to the local economy. Does it sound incredible? Let's find out how it happened. At the beginning of the 20th century, people in the United States treated wolves quite simply. They were seen as dangerous predators and pests that needed to be eradicated. State hunters were officially tasked with poisoning, shooting, or trapping any wolf they encountered. In 1926, the last wolf pack in Yellowstone disappeared. People were celebrating because they thought they had finally solved the problem, but they had no idea that they had just removed an important part from the complex mechanism of nature. At first, everything seemed fine. Without wolves, moose herds had grown, and tourists liked to see these large animals everywhere. But in fact, quiet, unnoticed changes began. Having lost their main predator, the moose were no longer careful. They could graze for hours on young shoots and bushes, especially near rivers and in moist meadows where vegetation was lush. Think of it as a party without parents, where teenagers clean out the entire refrigerator. Moose have cleared the territory, leaving no chance for young aspens, willows, and poplars to grow. Over the years, the vegetation along the rivers has disappeared. Without trees, the river banks weakened, the soil eroded, the water became turbid, and the rivers began to twist and fall apart. The landscape slowly deteriorated, although at first glance it still looked beautiful. In the early 1990s, it became clear to scientists that Yellowstone was in crisis. The ecosystem could not develop normally. Something had to be done urgently. Many ideas have failed. Moose hunting did not help much. It was not only in their numbers, but also in their behavior. The moose had no reason to be afraid of anything. There was no force that would force them to change their lifestyle or move from one place to another. A bold idea came up. Why not bring back the wolves? But reintroducing predators is not as easy as it seems. The local farmers were worried. What will happen to our cattle? The hunters were outraged. The wolves will eat all the moose we hunt. There were even rumors about super wolves, which were allegedly bred specifically to kill moose. Exterminate local wildlife. It's hard to believe, but people were afraid that the government was planning something terrible. Despite all the protests, the U.S. government made a bold decision in 1995. It brought 14 Canadian wolves to Yellowstone and released them into the wild. These wolves were carefully selected based on their genetics, behavior, and hunting experience. Wolves that had not attacked humans or livestock in the past were selected. The wolves were transported in special cages and kept in enclosures for a while to get used to their new home. Then they were released. What followed was a real drama in the wild. The wolves not only did not run away, but also flourished. Each wolf pack had its own character and hunting strategy. The scientists and the tourists started following them like they were characters in a TV series. One of the famous packs was the Druid Pack, and its leader, a wolf named 21M, was nicknamed Gentleman. He amazed everyone with his behavior. The predator did not kill defeated rivals, adopted orphaned puppies, and was loyal to only one friend. When she died, 21M stopped eating and eventually died of grief. Such stories have changed people's attitudes towards wolves. They were no longer just predators, but creatures with complex social lives. The most important changes began when wolves started hunting moose. Predators have reintroduced what scientists call the ecology of fear. Moose could no longer stand in one place for hours without worrying. They had to keep moving and look for safer places. The results were stunning. Trees and bushes began to recover where moose used to graze everything. A few years later, aspens, willows, and poplars grew again along the rivers. The strong roots of these trees have strengthened the banks and made the rivers cleaner, straighter, and more stable. These changes affected not only plants, but also other animals. When the trees returned, the beavers returned. Previously, there was only one beaver colony in the park. After the return of the wolves, the number of colonies grew rapidly. There are so many of them today that scientists find it difficult to count them. Beavers build dams by creating small ponds that slow down the flow of water. These new wetlands have become home to many other creatures: frogs, ducks, fish, otters. The water has become cleaner, and the soil has become stronger. Beavers are nature's engineers, and wolves have caused a cascade of positive changes through their indirect reintroduction. Grizzly bears have also benefited from wolves. After a successful hunt, wolves leave behind the remains of their prey. These leftovers are a good snack for bears. But that's not all. Thanks to the returned bushes, the berries began to grow again, providing the grizzly with an important food source in late summer. In this way, the wolves helped the bears through difficult times. But not everyone benefited from this. Coyotes, who previously occupied the top of the pyramid of medium-sized predators, faced strong competition from wolves. Their number has been halved. However, in the end, it turned out to be beneficial for the ecosystem. Small mammals such as mice and voles began to thrive because there were fewer coyotes. This meant more food for owls, hawks, foxes, weasels, and many others. Nature has once again found a complex but harmonious balance. One of the most surprising aspects of this story is the economic impact of the wolves' return. Researchers estimate that tourists who visit Yellowstone just to see wolves bring in about $35 million annually to local communities. But the economic benefits go beyond tourism. Healthy forests actively absorb carbon dioxide, helping to mitigate the effects of climate change, a global benefit worth billions. Stabilized riverbanks reduce the cost of repairing roads and bridges, as they are no longer eroded by water. Cleaner water means lower filtration costs. Some studies claim that all of these benefits combined can save a staggering $100 billion. However, the reintroduction of wolves has also brought with it problems. Wolves do not recognize the boundaries of the park. If they leave the park, they risk being shot by hunters or farmers. That's how the legendary wolf 06832F, known all over the world, died. Her death caused international outrage. Despite such losses, wolves continue to adapt. Flocks are stable. They lose leaders, but they keep finding new ones. Life goes on, and we learn more and more about complex connections between different species in nature. Today, there are several hundred wolves in the ecosystem of the Greater Yellowstone. They have become local legends and an important part of the park's history. Tourists from all over the world come to see them. Moreover, the success of this experiment has inspired other countries. Wolves, once almost extinct, are beginning to return to Europe naturally. Scientists are using Yellowstone's experience to better manage this process. There are discussions in Scotland about bringing wolves back to control deer populations. In Italy, France, and Germany, wolves return on their own, and society learns to coexist with them again. Environmentalists in China are also looking at the example of Yellowstone and thinking about how they can improve their own reserves. This story is not just about wolves. This is a lesson in how nature works. We tend to believe that we can gradually fix nature, hunt a few more deer here, plant a few more trees there. But the best way is to restore the key element that holds the whole system together. In the case of Yellowstone, the key element was wolves. They became the trigger for large-scale changes that cascaded across the entire ecosystem, from moose to beaver, from birch to bear, from rivers to groundwater. Interestingly, scientists are still discovering new benefits of returning wolves. Some studies show that wolves indirectly affect the climate of the park by influencing the distribution of underground heat due to regenerating soils and vegetation. Others are studying how wolves affect the spread of diseases among wild animals, destroying weak and sick individuals, thereby improving the health of the entire population. The more we explore, the deeper we discover connections in the animal kingdom. In the end, the 14 Canadian wolves released in 1995 showed us something incredible. Even one small step can dramatically change the fate of a vast territory. They showed that nature can heal itself if given the chance. Instead of trying to control everything at once, sometimes we need to bring back the orchestra's conductor. In Yellowstone, it was the wolves. Imagine the scene. Early in the morning, a light mist lies over the grass. A pack of wolves howls in the distance. The moose get nervous and avoid staying near the river for too long. Beavers gnaw wood and build strong dams. Willows and aspens rustle their leaves, protecting the riverbanks from erosion. Bears roam lazily, knowing that they will find something to eat, and foxes prowl through the grass in search of mice. Ducks fly over the landscape, and even the rivers seem to breathe easier, becoming cleaner and smoother. All this is the result of the return of the wolves. This story has inspired not only environmentalists and scientists, but also ordinary people. This reminds us that all species in nature are connected by invisible threads. If you delete an important view, the whole system will collapse. If you bring them back, nature will begin to heal itself. Yes, things don't always go smoothly. Conflicts with local residents occur, legendary animals die, and heated arguments arise. But the overall picture shows that wolves have brought much more good than evil. If you ever visit Yellowstone, take a look at these vast valleys, at the packs of wolves that deftly hide in the shade of the forests, at the rushing rivers rushing their waters through the green shores. Remember that behind this beauty lies a complex story of how people disrupted and then restored the ecological balance. And remember how in 1995, only 14 wolves initiated huge changes, and with them proved that nature is not just a sum of parts, but a single organism that can change and be renewed if we do not stand in its way. So this story is not a scientific fairy tale, but a reality supported by extensive research. Scientists, economists, and conservationists agree. Wolves have breathed new life into Yellowstone and restored wild rhythms and rules. Therefore, the next time someone says that one small step cannot change the situation, remember these 14 wolves who changed the fate of the entire ecosystem and gave us hope and understanding of the power of natural processes.